It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. This is Red Eye Radio for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. And now, Gary McNamara.
Man, the left can't do anything right here. I mean, talk about quiet quitting. A group of Princeton University students who participated in an anti-Israel hunger strike announced Sunday they would be rotating people participating in the strike due to health concerns.
Due to being hungry. We're going to Jack in the Box, guys.
Due to health concerns of the 13 strikers who fasted for 9 days, the first hunger strikes wave ended and a second wave had begun. Well, if you're not going to threaten death, that defeats the whole death by starvation. That defeats the whole purpose of a hunger strike.
Well, I knew it was getting a little soft when the Domino's guy showed up. Up.
I'm doing a hunger strike except for donuts.
Yeah. I'm going on a donut fast. I've actually done that. It works. If you like donuts and you're not looking to lose weight.
I love this here. The 13 students associated with Princeton and the Israeli apartheid divest initially began the hunger strike on May 3rd, according to the college newspaper, which reported that 7 students replaced their spots in the hunger strike.
Okay. All right. Wait, no. It's like, okay, you do noon to 3. I'll do 3 to 6. Okay. Who's going to do 6 to 9? I can't do 6 to 9. I can't do, that's right after work. I can't do 6 to 9. No.
Well, I'd volunteer. I said, look, I've got a doctor's appointment in a month, and I'm doing my blood sugar fast, so I'm willing to go for a whole 8 hours and 1 minute.
That's right.
And then I got to take my blood, and then I have to eat some stuff.
Listen, if you don't mind me sleeping, I can do about 5 or 6 hours. All the way through. Straight.
Wow. I sleep 10 hours a night, so I'll do a 10-hour hunger strike every single day.
That's right.
This is almost like the when you see it on social media, the left can't meme. It's like they can't even do a hunger strike right.
It really is pathetic. You can't go the full measure for. Now, I don't want anybody dying, but how many days did they go?
Well, they said they went 9. I don't know if that's correct or not, but they say they started the strike on May 3rd, which reported that 7 students replaced their spots in the hunger strike. Now, I don't know if that was after 9 days or whatever, but I just love it when they say, it becomes a news item that they take turns with the hunger strike due to health concerns, and it's a big issue. One student was taken to the hospital. The next student was told to start eating and drinking immediately. Well, what the hell you think is going to happen?
Well, the whole threat is their health. That's or else.
Right.
Give us what we want or else.
Or give us what we want
or we'll quit doing what we're doing now. We'll give us what we want or we'll start eating again.
Right. Side with the terrorists. Or we're going to get really, 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 really hungry.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a binge strike. All right. I'm going to start eating nonstop until you guys give me what I want. And also, are you going to eat that?
I like this because, see, for me, I'm a type 2 diabetic, and I'm going to start eating 500 carbs a day.
I'm going all in. Don't think I won't do it. Oh, my gosh.
You don't think that I'll go It can't be a Coke Zero. Wait a minute. We're not allowed to drink Coke. What soft drinks aren't we allowed to drink?
I don't know.
Wait a minute. Do they still make Jolt Cola? Remember,
know.
double the sugar, double the caffeine.
No.
I'm going to do Jolt Cola and donuts. That's it. And I'm going to become a fat slob and become unhealthy because that's the whole point, right? You're threatening your health in some way.
Right. Is it the point? I thought it was just that I get to eat a lot.
Well, I always just wondered about how
benefit
I just really wonder how effective has a hunger strike ever been effective in changing policy?
No, not even
I'm
once.
trying to think when it would have worked.
Not even once. I mean, because can you imagine? Listen, they're hungry. The kids are hungry. We need to change all of our policy in the Middle East.
Are you ready for this?
Huh?
One of the students participated in the strike was admitted to the hospital and was encouraged to resume drinking and eating immediately. And the after-visit summary stated that the hunger strike was detrimental to the hunger striker's health and could result in complications.
Huh?
Well, was there another option? Was there another option in there? Well, actually, you probably could go for another 9 days because you don't really have a 6-pack or a 12-pack. You have more of a small keg there and probably have a few more pounds you could burn off.
It really, the threat is give us what we want, do what we are asking you to do, or else we'll go for, possibly 9 days without eating.
I'm assuming they were drinking water.
I don't know. One report said the person hadn't been, the medical report said they hadn't been eating or drinking, but Kevin James was on Rogan a few weeks ago.
You can't last 9 days without drinking water.
I'm just telling you what the report said.
Yeah.
I don't have any proof of anything and really don't care. Kevin James was on Rogan the other day and said he went 49 days without eating food. It was food. It was water and vitamins, and that was it. 49 days. Kevin James did it. You can't do it? I mean, if he's a big guy. He's not a small guy.
I'm sorry.
If I think of Kevin James going 49 minutes without eating, you know what I mean? He's one of those guys, and he'll tell you that. He can't stop eating.
That little mall scooter is going about 10 miles an hour faster.
Yeah, exactly. Who was it? Was it Artie Lang? Says, I've never been swimming because it's never been 30 minutes since I last ate.
I just saw that one. What in the world? I mean, I just love how the media will frame it at times, or how it's like well, and they were told that not eating can be hazardous to your health.
Mm-hmm.
No, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What was the and you better not do that again. What was the other option? There is no other option. You have to eat. But I just loved. I'm trying to think if in my mind going back again, hunger strikes. Do they evoke sympathy from people? I don't think they do. People go, well, your choice.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. Your body, your choice.
Yeah. The citizens of North Korea would probably look at that and go, I'm sorry, what? You're doing what? Yeah. You're giving up food?
Who am I to tell you to eat? If that's your choice, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't evoke sympathy from the public at all. Nobody even pays attention to it.
Like I said, I don't care if you make that, I don't want anybody to die, but if you make a choice to compromise your health, there's nothing I can do about it.
Well,
you deliberately did it as a matter of protest. I can't spend my time thinking about that. You're going to get zero sympathy from me on that.
Well, especially when you say, look, I'm going to start eating to the point where I may affect my health in order to support the genocide of Jews. somehow you're like, okay, I really don't know how that one, how that one actually works in somebody's mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm glad because you stated a couple times that you don't want anybody to die. I thought you always did.
Well, I can acknowledge the truth. We're always, on our way to that. The minute you're born, the clock is ticking. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
I'm not pro-death, but it's going to happen to everybody.
Well, it's a fact. We're all going to die. When you say it out loud, people, why do you want to? We are all going to die.
Shh. Stop that now.
Yeah. Once you deal with that fact, then everything else just kind of becomes really small. It's like, oh, yeah, okay.
I think somebody tweeted today something I like to us, like, isn't it just insanely crazy or something? I'll have to find it later. It was just, I just burst out laughing when I saw it. It was, hey, Gary, aren't things just nuts?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah. Of course.
Oh, man. Hey, I got a couple of Seinfeld cuts today.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, Jerry went after Harvard.
Yeah, right.
Harvard used to be he actually talked about his writers who, were like really embarrassed that they were from Harvard. He goes, used to be when you graduated from Harvard, you were proud of it. It used to be a good school. And he goes, now Duke is. Oh, they loved that one.
Oh, yeah.
He was actually really good as he talked about that you got to have a sense of humor because, he was like, all of you are going to do great things. All of you are going to do incredible things to help the world. And at the end, basically, when you get to my age, 70, it's still going to be totally screwed up.
Yeah.
So you better have a sense of humor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. And, speaking of that, you saw UNC dropping DEI. I'm waiting for the left to go crazy on it. I was scanning social media the hours after they announced that they were going to scrap DEI and give that money to college law enforcement.
Well,
to ensure that people are safe.
You know what's interesting is this little experiment of the states is working out very horribly for the left. We talked about the idea of the Civil War, or states seceding, and everything else. We don't have to get to that point. The cultural war will bring about what we're seeing in California. It will bring about what we're seeing in blue cities, where the average rank-and-file citizen's looking at going, you know what? You guys have gone way too far. I voted for you for the longest time. I can't do this anymore. I got to get out. Who was it the other day that was saying they're somebody famous saying they're leaving New York? You saw the attack on Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
Who attacks Steve Buscemi?
If you want to talk about, a personality who owns New York.
Yeah.
Remember what he did after 9/11 because he used to be a New York firefighter and went back. Mm-hmm. Actually went back to duty.
Right.
You talk about a celebrity who was a normal person, somebody
stand-up guy
who was absolutely embraced. And I look at somebody like Steve Buscemi and say, a lot of people criticize the people that come from New York, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you look at somebody like Steve Buscemi and you say, he's why New York is great, and has been great and has a history of being great. People like him.
Yeah, and a guy just attacks him, seemingly for no reason. Who else was it? It was another. There was somebody else that was on that show with him on HBO that was attacked also in Central Park. He was in Midtown, and the other person was in Central Park, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and was hit over the head with a rock by somebody. There's always been that kind of stuff intermittently in New York. But when you combine it with the idea of not going after criminals, this whole bail reform, setting them free when they commit a crime and not holding them to their responsibilities, the criminals, then you're eventually going to get to the point where you can't afford to stay. It's not safe for your family to stay. And at that point, you're going to be looking for Snake Plissken to help get you out of New York. That's the way it's going to work. You're going to be looking to escape any way that you can. So we don't need the Civil War. We don't need this, a state seceding or any of that. It's happening because of the insane policies and culture that has become the radical left.
And with that, we've got a really good show today.
We
Just
do.
Tons of stuff coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. When it comes to truck maintenance, sometimes it's the little things that can cause the most trouble, like cabin air filters. When properly serviced, cabin air filters provide a barrier between pollutants and harmful particles outside and your HVAC system. If you don't pay attention to them, however, this small part can turn into big trouble in no time. Breathe easy when you know which warning signs could indicate that your cabin air filters are clogged. A dirty, musty smell throughout the entire cab may indicate your cabin air filters are oversaturated and need to be replaced.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I want to play this audio cut from National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan yesterday, just to show you what a mess this is. The White House can't tell you what parameters that Israel should be involved in. You had what's his name,
Blinken.
Blinken come out and say get out of Gaza.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what the National Security Advisor, who represents the president as close as you can get.
Yep.
It's not what he's saying.
Thanks, Jay. I know you previously haven't wanted to talk about drawing red lines, but Israel is continuing to strike Rafah, and they're continuing to order the evacuation of large numbers of civilians. So how will you assess when it has crossed over into a full-scale offensive from the current operations that are happening now?
We're watching this very closely, as you are. We're consulting closely with the Israelis. We're collecting our own assessment of what's happening on the ground. The Israeli Defense Forces have indicated to us that the operations they are currently pursuing are targeted. They are not the kind of massive military operation that we have talked about. We'll make our own judgment on that as we see things unfold, and it will be based on a totality of factors. It's not a mathematical formula or a mechanical determination. It's something we will judge based on what we see, and the president will then make his determinations. We have not seen that happen yet.
They're backing off from what Blinken said on Sunday.
Well, and I wondered if they would and how soon they would, because that was the gauntlet. To me, on Sunday, that was the story. Anthony Blinken laying down, get out of Gaza. And which is to say, you can't do anything to defend yourself anymore. You can't go after your enemy at all. Get out of Gaza. He said it. He wasn't parsing words. And now they're walking it back. And what you heard from Jake Sullivan here was, yeah, well, we walk the fence, and then when we walk the fence, we're walking the fence and walk the fence, and we're going to continue to walk the fence and monitor the walking of the fence. And as we learn more about walking the fence, the president will decide about how much walking the fence we will walk the fence.
And we're against the large-scale operations, but not the targeted. Specifically, what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
that was yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
And why aren't you saying the same thing that Anthony Blinken said on Sunday? Why aren't you reiterating that?
Call and join the conversation. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. I want to play this quick audio cut from Jake Sullivan yesterday, Biden's national security advisor. Yeah, you know, there's been more heat than light in the recent coverage and commentary. It's the media's fault. Here we go.
Before I take your questions, I want to step back and make some comments on the latest developments in the Middle East. There's been a lot more heat than light in the recent coverage and commentary about the war between Israel and Hamas.
No, right. Okay. A lot more heat than light. What?
I know it's the media's fault.
Yeah. We don't care what the media is saying about it. What do you have to say about it? You know, this is again an administration who can't tell you.
Well, you know what I liked. What they're saying now is, and this was Blinken on Sunday when he said get out of Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
As Wall Street Journal noted, the latest Secretary of State Anthony Blinken taking Rafah won't achieve anything. Israel is on the trajectory potentially to inherit an insurgency with many armed Hamas left, or if it leaves, a vacuum filled by chaos, filled by anarchy, probably refilled by Hamas. He said on Meet the Press.
Vacuum.
And he goes so as the Wall Street Journal responds, well, what remains of Hamas if you take out, if you take them out, could attempt an insurgency, but that's a lower risk than leaving Hamas's 4 military battalions and leadership to survive.
Well, that's it. A vacuum for what to happen? If you go in and you destroy Hamas leadership, what is the vacuum? By the way,
God,
that's kind of rich coming from the administration who botched the exit of Afghanistan, creating a massive vacuum that led to the terrorist superstate that is Afghanistan today. You know, when I saw that on Sunday, I was like, vacuum? You've got the nerve to use that word? Serving this commander-in-chief? Are you kidding me? Wow.
And he goes, and then because they're, as we do, they follow it, week by week, day by day.
Yeah.
What did the administration say last week?
Right.
Last week, White House spokesperson John Kirby tried a different argument.
No.
Israel has achieved so much, it doesn't need to take Rafah.
Okay.
We believe they put an enormous amount of pressure on Hamas and that there are better ways to go after what's left of Hamas in Rafah than a major ground operation. Israel has already eliminated a lot of the leaders and decimated the ranks of many of their units.
Yeah. Wow.
The Biden team wants it both ways.
Right.
Israel is going to lose, but it's already won. Either way, there's no need to take Rafah. The truth is that the war isn't over, and Hamas will win if it keeps control of Rafah and its people.
Yeah.
Mr. Kirby had another doozy. Any kind of major Rafah ground operation would actually strengthen Hamas's hands at the negotiation table. These people are just...
No, they're just insane.
I would say they're delusional. They're not delusional. They just don't know where to go. They can't sell their anti-Semitism.
Right.
They can't sell their Jewish hatred. They're attempting to justify it, but they just can't do it. They say these stupid things. They look at the internal polling. They're getting killed, so they come up with another dumb explanation or rationalization for what they're doing.
Their incompetent brain is just misfiring at every turn. Every time they're talking to the media, they just go in any and every direction here. That, oh, no, they've already, had a significant progress against Hamas, and then a few days later, oh, they're not going to make any progress against Hamas.
And this is the doozy here, the full context here. Any kind of major Rafah ground operation would actually strengthen Hamas's hands at the negotiation table, Mr. Kirby said. Now, remember, this is a longtime military guy. Kirby, listen to what he says. If I'm Mr. Sinwar, that's Hamas's leader, and I'm seeing innocent people falling victim to major significant combat operations, then I have less of an incentive to want to come to the negotiation table, as if Hamas gives a damn about the civilians in Rafah.
Right.
This is the kind of morally bankrupt leadership you have in the White House, out and outright evil.
It sounds like Sinwar actually wrote those words.
Yeah.
Once again.
Oh, somebody said that.
Yeah, once again, they're the mouthpiece for Hamas.
I got to find that. Somebody said that yesterday because you said at the very beginning that this administration sounds like they're the defense lawyers.
The talking points
for
exactly.
Hamas,
and their talking points are written right out of Hamas's playbook.
Oh, somebody said that yesterday. I got to thank when you said just boom, that hit my head.
And that's exactly what you hear right here. Well, if I'm Mr. Sinwar, that's wow. Did you get that directly from him? Is he on a direct text with you? This is this administration right now, because they know the closer they get to the convention in Chicago, where they raise the Palestinian flag in Daley Plaza over the weekend. That was just insane. And the radicals are getting louder and louder and louder. They're scrambling because they've endorsed the radicals, yet the radicals still don't endorse them, and they can't figure it out. They're misfiring at every turn, and they don't give a damn about Israel. They don't give a damn about the American hostages. That's who this administration is, and it runs all the way through this administration to the bone.
And they write, look at the facts. Hamas made a deal in November after Israel blitzed Gaza City. Later, when the Israelis slowed and then stalled under U.S. pressure, Hamas refused another deal for months. Military pressure is the only path to a hostage deal, and U.S. protection of Rafah reduces Israeli leverage. Mr. Biden himself focuses on 2,000-pound bombs. Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs, he said Wednesday, but he also delays delivery of 500-pound bombs and the JDAMs for precision smart bombs. We're not walking away from Israel's security, Mr. Biden said. We're walking away from Israel's ability to wage war in those areas. The first part is questionable, but the second is clear. He believes war in Rafah is too dangerous, no matter what munitions Israel uses, which does match then with Blinken saying, get out of Gaza.
Yep.
Yesterday.
Right.
But I'm telling you, they reversed. They got pounded.
Yep.
They must have looked at the polls and they got pounded in the overnight polls. They had to, because they reversed in a day. And that's why the left isn't, that's why trying to ride this, play this tightrope. We love Israel and we're there to defend them completely. Mm-hmm. But we don't think that they should actually defeat Hamas.
Right.
We should give them a stronghold to remain. Yep. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
It's delusional to think so. And so you don't think the left's looking at it going, okay, now he says get out of Gaza. Okay, great. We're pro-Hamas. That's going to be good. And then you've got Jake Sullivan out there yesterday. We stand with Israel. Uh-huh. And we're not really sure, blah, 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 what we want. We don't want major war operations. We like the surgical operation. We like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They don't have a damn clue.
No.
They don't know what to do because they're pro-Hamas. They're anti-Semites in the White House. But they can't sell that to the American people. That's the problem that they have, and everyone knows it.
Yep, you've endorsed the radicals. The radicals are nowhere close to endorsing you, and they won't ever be, and you can't figure this out politically.
Let me play Ted Cruz from yesterday because you had a bunch of Republican senators talking about this yesterday. Here this is.
Where are we now? Where we are now is the Biden administration is sending money right now to Gaza. Many of us said if you send the money to Gaza, it will be seized by Hamas. What happened? The first shipment came in and boom, immediately seized by Hamas, exactly like we said. But they're combining it with blocking weapons to Israel. The Biden White House has been the most anti-Israel administration this nation has ever seen. Literally from day one, the Biden White House has been undermining Israel at every step of the way. When October 7th happened, when Hamas death squads were murdering 1,200 innocent civilians, were raping women and little girls, while the attacks were happening, the Biden State Department sent out a tweet at 3 in the morning saying Israel must not retaliate. There should be no military response. That tweet was disgraceful. I called it out at 3 a.m, and they deleted the tweet within minutes. The next day, Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, sent another tweet, said, I just talked with the Turkish foreign minister. We agreed Israel must not retaliate, must not strike back. I called that tweet out again. They deleted it again. Where are we today? Well, yesterday, Joe Biden said, quote, I made it clear if Israel goes into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells.
There you go.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and this is where they are. We have to look at the actions. You know, Kirby's all over the place. Blinken wasn't all over the place. Blinken went straight to the point, threw down the gauntlet on Sunday. Get out of Gaza. And the actions by this administration back what Blinken is saying. Kirby's scrambling. His brain is misfiring. What has happened to him over the years, I can't tell you.
And Jake Sullivan yesterday.
The same thing.
Right.
And they're all over the place. They're trying to scramble to give something to the media. Blinken didn't care to scramble for whatever reason. And then, you know, Sullivan trying to walk it back seemingly on Monday. But where do you go? Well, you have to set everything aside in terms of their words and look at the actions of this administration. All of their actions show you they don't care about the American hostages. They don't care about the people of Israel. They are pro-Hamas, 100%. There is no way around that fact. All of their actions, policy-wise, show that. They could cut Iran off tomorrow, and they don't.
I really wonder if they got a heads up on the New York Times Siena poll that came out yesterday.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, send Jake. We can't send Blinken out there.
Right.
Send Jake Sullivan out there. He hasn't said anything. And, you know, look, you go out there and give the blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We support Israel.
Right.
But not too much.
Right. Don't go overboard.
Right. Well, define overboard. Well, we're monitoring that every day to see the situation on the ground to see if they go overboard.
Yeah.
And that benchmark would be?
Right.
And then what killed them yesterday is the UN numbers of civilian casualties basically cut in half.
Right.
Which that number came from Hamas to begin with.
Yep.
And so it was like, well, wait a minute. You know, you're talking about a situation where we want to hold Israel to a standard that we have never held anyone, including the United States, when it comes to civilian casualties. What's up?
Right.
And we saw that you and I were listening to the Scott Galloway on MSNBC back a couple of weeks ago, saying and going through everything else with the U.S. after World War II.
Right.
2,000 of our military were killed in it, and he said we killed whatever millions. At that point. He said, we're holding, and he went through all different wars, point by point, and MSNBC, and that's a problem that the president has. You can't win this argument.
No, I mean, they're looking,
win it.
Again, they're looking for equity in war. There's no such thing.
This is Israel, fight the DEI war.
Exactly.
86690 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. You and I were just talking about, and we'll have more discussion on this following the top of the hour, that really it's incredible when you think about it. And if Trump goes on to win, and you think about how history will look at the lawfare, and yesterday especially, and we had talked about this, you need more Republicans talking about, this, and man, they were yesterday, and the Trump campaign has now made a conscious decision, and the Republican Party, this is gold for our campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And the president coming out, J.D. Vance was there yesterday.
Yep.
You got Ramaswamy going to be out there tomorrow. They're all talking. You had Republican lawmakers outside the trial. You had, state attorney generals outside all speaking on it. It is amazing when you think of where this was, the narrative was 6 months ago or 9 months ago, that Trump's going to get destroyed and everything is falling apart.
By the way, this is what we talked about last week. A caller called in and said, look, they need to get governors from GOP lawmakers. In my mind, I was thinking attorneys general from different states, but that came together now, and it should continue because the entire thing is a sham.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, he's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. We'll get to the trial shenanigans going on in New York. What an insane day it was yesterday with Cohen there in a moment. But we want to get to we do not live in the bubble of the moment update.
All right.
That we actually have memories.
Yeah.
And so I saw this story yesterday, Claire McCaskill. So many things are weird about Trump's supporters' undying loyalty. MSNBC contributor Claire McCaskill said Monday on Deadline that there were so many weird things about the supporters and rally-goers of former President Donald Trump.
So many, huh? Name a few.
She said there are the cowardly Republicans who are afraid not to be for Donald Trump publicly, even though behind his back they think he's a horrible person, a horrible leader, and a horrible, horrible president. And then there's the bucket of people who really believe this guy. And then the host said, well, who was in that one? The people at his rallies. And then the response was supporters. It's more probably like 30% of the GOP. Now, let's clarify this, what's going on here, all right?
All right.
We can clarify this by using Claire.
Yes. We're going to clarify it.
Right. We're going to clarify what Claire was saying because Claire doesn't remember what she said a few years ago.
Let's be clear.
Yes. Let's be clear about this, Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in 2018, when she was running, again, as an incumbent, unsuccessfully, she was beaten by Josh Hawley. She talked about the problem that Democrats have.
Right.
And it's a reason why Trump has so much support right now. We just want to help her along here.
Right.
Because, again, she doesn't...
Refresh her memory.
She doesn't seem to even understand how she ran as a Democrat for political office.
Right.
In 2018, this was part of an interview on CNN. Here we go.
You have a radio ad out saying that you're not one of those crazy Democrats.
And Claire's not one of those crazy Democrats. She works right in the middle and finds compromise.
So there you go. Well, there you go, Claire. You forgot what you even thought the problem with the Democrats are. The reason, and we have said this before, and people see, I don't know why the mainstream media seems to be afraid of this.
Yeah.
The reason that Donald Trump is doing so well is because of the crazy Democrats and where they stand on the issues and what they have done with lawfare that the American public looks at and says, we're getting closer to a banana republic here.
Right.
You're going after a former president. This is election interference. This is wrong. And then all the other issues out there where the Democrats, even according to Claire McCaskill, are crazy.
Yeah.
So we just want to update Claire on her own, on what she has said in the past.
Yeah.
When she's run for political office.
And we tore it down then, and said, look, that phrase, those words, crazy Democrats, came back to them in their internal research.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what came back to them. It's the reason they phrased it that way.
Why she used it.
Yep. And so they used it that way. Now, then they had to make a decision. Okay, are we going to have Claire say that? I'm not one of those crazy Democrats? No. No, you don't have her. So we'll do one of those actors things, the really cheesy radio ads, where it's just hi, Bob, who are you voting for? Well, I'm certainly not voting for one of those crazy Democrats, Rick. Well, then who would that be? Because they all seem crazy to me. Claire McCaskill, she's not one of those crazy Democrats. The hell she's not! Get out of my garage! If I wrote the ad.
Well, let's be fair. The Democrats are no longer crazy. They're insane.
Crazy was so 2008.
18.
No, I mean, we can say they were only crazy, leading up to 2008.
Well,
they were, before that, they were kind of, would you say, hippie-ish, weird?
No, you can make that because the next story relates to it. That we have long
memories.
I was
going back to Obama. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, but I just realized the next story. Mm-hmm. I thought you just were mixing up 2018 with 2008, and you were not.
No.
But then it made me realize, all right, here's where we can go with this, which is the next story that is out there. And I'm reading from John Nolte from Breitbart on the Washington Post story. The hypocritical lunatics at the far left Washington Post are demanding we do something they never would. Take cold showers to save Mother Earth. Now, I say this because this relates to, I go, what was the last insane? Oh, that's right. Sheryl Crow with the one square,
right,
which was 2007.
Was that 2007?
I just looked it up.
With Lori David, she went on tour, remember, not long after that with Lori David?
Yeah.
Larry David's now ex-wife? Yeah. Wow.
And remember, and it was one, you should use one square in that.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, they were on a tour bus, a diesel-powered tour bus, not a hybrid, not an EV.
Right. But when I first saw the headline for this anti-science piece of nonsense, why you should embrace using cold water almost all the time, I assume the Post would stick to things like dishwashers and washing machines.
Right.
No way that they would demand that we take cold showers. I foolishly assumed that would be a ridiculous request, a bridge too far, a way to get laughed off the planet. Brother, was I wrong?
Yeah.
But I should have known better. After all, one of the left's tactics is to pound us with their extremism to keep us off guard. Here's the latest example of that. And while you read this, keep in mind that we are only 3 years out of a pandemic that took up to 1 million lives. Mm-hmm. Here it is. Showering accounts for roughly 17% of the water Americans use in their homes, according to the Environmental Protection Agency. Your steamy showers consume energy. Nearly half a home's hot water is used for bathing. A cold shower not only uses less energy than a hot one, but it also saves water because you don't have to run the tap while you wait for it to heat up, said Jennifer Aman, senior fellow in the Buildings Program at the American Council for Energy Efficiency Economy, a nonprofit group. You should also rethink washing your hands with hot or warm water for the same reason, she added. The Post is demanding we use cold water to rinse our dishes only proves that no one at the Post has ever done their own dishes. Which is why they love their illegal aliens so much. making the case that they've hired them to do their work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Post also demands we use cold water to do our laundry.
Mm-hmm.
The liars and oh my God. I know we give opinions, and sometimes we have some pretty good jokes.
Yeah.
But but I'm telling you, sometimes these writers, whether it's for National Review, Wall Street Journal, Breitbart, John Nolte, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Nolte used to work with Shapiro, didn't he? I think so.
Did he?
Was he at the Daily Caller at one point? Yeah, Nolte was.
Mm.
But sometimes,
Daily Caller or Daily Wire?
Oh.
Yeah.
I think Daily Wire.
Yeah, I don't.
Daily Wire.
I'm not sure where
Daily
Nolte
Wire,
was. Yeah, but
But just this line, I started laughing. The liars and conspiracy theorists at the Post want you and me to live like 8th century savages, but have no intention of doing the same. While we are guilted and regulated into cold showers, cold dishwasher, no air conditioning, and mass transit, these elite hypocrites will continue to enjoy their hot showers, their air conditioning, and their private jets.
Right.
Wow. Like air conditioning, hot water is one of mankind's greatest inventions. It's not just about the luxury of it. It's about the vital importance of cleanliness. Hot water cleans and disinfects a hell of a lot better than cold water. It also helps stop the spread of infections, germs, and viruses. So there you go.
My maternal grandmother, every night, this would be like right before bedtime, all of the silverware used for dinner. I don't think she did this when, maybe she did, but I don't think she did it every day when it was just her and my grandfather, eating dinner. But when we were all there and had a big group, she would get all the silverware from the end of the night, and she'd put it in a huge pot and boil it. It was part of sterilizing it. She didn't want to risk, whatever. There was a bunch of us kids running around, and so she would just put it on the stove while she's doing other cleaning before bedtime, and she did that every single time we were there.
Well, think about the sterilization process for instruments in a hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, we should stop that because that uses energy to create that heat.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Like I said, they're crazy.
No,
they're insane.
When you talk about, my wife and I always go back to, all right, we didn't always have a ton of money, but our kids were clean and healthy and had a roof over their head. They were fed. They were happy. But it comes down to, my wife said this since I met her. Soap and hot water are pretty cheap. You can get yourself clean. It's kind of one of her pet peeves, for people who don't, take care of themselves. Now, I'm one of these, during the summer especially, we're coming up on it. I've actually started it somewhat. I do 2 hot showers a day. It's just a thing. I got to be clean.
Well, I say to all liberal women, because it seems to me, this is anecdotal evidence, that more women like to take baths than men.
Mm-hmm.
We love the quick 5-minute shower.
Yeah.
Get clean. Women, I can tell you, the vast majority of women I know, I'm going to take a hot bath. I think all liberal women should take ice cold baths from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. And jump right into it. Don't slowly sit down. Jump right into it. Just because what's implied here is, you don't have to wait for the hot water, the water to heat up. Yeah, no, just turn the shower on and stand under it.
You know what it made me think? When is Biden going to ban pool heaters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be water heaters that are set. They can only be set the manufacturers can only have them for a certain, temperature.
They can only heat water to 65.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll steal from the Bill Burr bit about men taking a bath. He goes, if you're a guy, you sit down and then all of a sudden you start having these horrible thoughts. It's like, what am I, in a mafia movie? What am I going to test? They're going to find me tomorrow in this bathtub, and things have gone horribly wrong. Yeah, it's again,
hot tubs have to go.
Well,
pool heaters, hot
why
tubs?
are we bathing at all?
Well, I will tell you this. You know how I could never live the life, but I'm fascinated by people. They don't do it. It doesn't seem like they do it for a long time. In COVID, I started watching. I think there's one person left who started it before COVID, who I watch. And she was talking the other day. She goes, "Well, yeah, I need to hit the. She lives in her van full time. She goes, I haven't taken a shower in 5 or 6 days. So like, oh, well, that.
Oh.
And so
there's not enough Febreze in the world, man.
Well, when that first happened, I said, "Well, let me find out about these recirculating showers that they have, with the filters and everything else.
Yeah. That
actually recirculates 2 gallons of water and puts it back out again and keeps it in its own tank, so it doesn't. And then you can dump it into the gray water tank. But it's it's extremely expensive, and the filters get clogged really quick, and you need special soap and everything else. Putting an entire because I wouldn't drink the water after it gets filtered.
Right.
It's for showering only.
Right.
But the fact is, when you attempt to put a water treatment plant in your small RV,
well, it's
not going to work the same as the big ones.
How are you going to find out that it's not working? There's only one way. It's the smell when it doesn't work. Ooh, the filter's gone bad. Yeah. It's like those compost toilets they talk about. It's a compost toilet. It's a compost toilet.
I couldn't use that.
Yeah, and you guys have been making fun of guys for, going in the woods. Are you kidding me? Ew, that's so barbaric. Yeah, so is your compost toilet. Quit talking.
But when she said that, I've gone 5 to 6 days, it's like,
no. Yeah,
really?
No.
Well, van life isn't for me if that's what you have to do.
It's pretty simple. You get one of those 24/7 memberships to a health club, and they have showers.
Oh, yeah, she has it. That's where she was going. But she still hadn't taken one.
She just didn't want to do it for 6 days?
Well, no, she was out in the wilderness.
Oh, okay.
This one, she shoots, photography.
Yeah.
So she's out in the wilderness all the time.
You can get a water pump. It'll work. Those water pumps actually will heat.
She does have a shower. I don't know why she's not using it in the van, though.
Oh, ew.
But she said she hadn't taken a shower for 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
No.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators can save a hefty amount of money by participating in discount fuel networks. If you're leased and your fleet has a fuel optimizer program, use it. Such a program helps plan a trip based on fuel prices and locations in the carrier's fuel network. The larger the carrier, typically the larger the discounts that are possible. Fees for using such networks have become rare thanks to competition for drivers. Owner-operators are well advised, however, to pass up network fuel stops that are too costly, are too far off route, sell inferior fuel, or are dangerously or poorly maintained. For independent owner-operators, a bevy of fuel discount networks exists, from a variety of traditional fuel cards to the National Association of Small Trucking Companies network and the younger mudflap applications discounts at independent truck stops around the nation. Research the options and discounts available to find the right one for you. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at some of the analysis of the Trump trial yesterday, and I'm just laughing here, just reading this one line from Andrew McCarthy as he's explaining different things that happened. He goes, "But for seemingly the zillionth time, payment for an NDA is not a campaign expenditure, even if those involved were motivated by a campaign to make the payment." I mean,
it is so obvious. This case is so bad.
I know.
By the way, that's why so many of the GOP now are finding it very easy to step out and actually campaign against it.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm telling you, the Trump trial is really turning into something incredible in American election history when you think about it, because this election, if Trump wins, will go down in history.
Yeah.
You know, historians looking at this. This is going to be one of the times in history that historians look back and go, "Whoa, look at this!
Yeah,
look at what the Democrats attempted to do. You know, using bogus charges to do this." And I think there's going to be some great history lessons on this when you look, 100 years from now, or 150 years from now, maybe in 50 years from now, maybe even a year from now.
Yeah.
Because it's all falling apart. But when you think politically, what a political story this is, that the Democrats did all of this to destroy Trump, and it resurrected him.
Yeah.
Completely. You've got Trump out there. He started, and this is probably about 10 days ago when you really started seeing this movement on it. And then last week, it was just boom, he was out there every day. And then instead of pounding the witnesses, he pounded on the judge. And look, it's a rogue judge and a rogue DA. It's obvious for anybody who sees the law, who understands the law, when you see this going on. The public recognizes it.
Yeah.
And now the Republican Party seems to be out in full force. You had Republicans outside the Trump trial yesterday in New York talking about it. One of them was Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, who said this.
30 years I have been a prosecutor and cared desperately about what goes on in our criminal justice system, and I have never seen in my career a greater perversion of the criminal justice system than I witnessed this morning. We had more questions about Michael Cohen's feelings than we did connecting him to any criminal offense. When I was a district attorney, I had the privilege of being able to work with Cy Vance. I know that his team reviewed these facts and rejected any effort to use the resources of this city to pursue a sham prosecution.
It's really incredible how this thing has turned, and part of the whoa was the New York Times Siena poll yesterday that came out, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But you had let me just go down and look at some of the things that were said. This is from a quote from Michael Shirkonish from CNN. Used to be sort of a conservative radio talk show host. Then he's one of those that got out of the business after 2016 because things were too tough, and became a CNN host. He hates Trump.
Right.
Here's what he had to say. A person 4 or 5 weeks now into a trial ought to be told exactly that which they're being prosecuted for. And that just hasn't happened. And all of those who were on radio and television, like myself, act as if it is the case that we all know, and that Trump's been put on notice. but that really isn't true. Whoa.
Yeah.
And looking at, again, Jonathan Turley commenting on it yesterday, and he just wrote, he goes, Mr. Fix-It, Mr. Cohen bombs on the stand, offers no new evidence to convict Trump. Michael Cohen apparently wants a reality show, but if his testimony Monday is any indication, reality is about to sink in, not just for Cohen, but the prosecutors and the court. In stoking interest in his own appearance, the former Trump counsel promised the public that they should be prepared to be surprised. Thus far, however, Cohen has offered nothing new and, more importantly, nothing to make the case for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. And this is the last witness. There is nothing. I mean, there's nothing after this. The cross-examination begins. There's nothing.
And it hasn't materialized anything. There's nothing that has been divulged. In fact, the only thing that's been exposed is how much nothing there is in this case.
Yep. Oh, and the reality show came in because just before he took the stand, New York Post revealed Cohen has been peddling a reality show called The Fixer.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. No, this guy's totally into himself. He's making it all about him.
With the prosecution's case almost over, Bragg needed Cohen to clearly state that Trump intentionally committed fraud to conceal some poorly defined crime. The problem is that Cohen only confirmed that Trump knew he was going to pay for the non-disclosure agreement and that it would be buried before the election. None of that is unlawful. That simple.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're getting to the end of it here, and there is nothing. And the left more and more, and the Never Trumpers more and more are looking at this going, between what's going on with Israel and the Alvin Bragg case, it is a disaster on the left.
Yeah, it really is.
You know, I've been saying for weeks now, I don't even know if they get a convention done. And then we started hearing the talk over the weekend about, partially virtual convention. How do you get a partially virtual convention? Keep in mind, it's part of the official process. Things have to happen. There's business that has to be done at these conventions. It's not all rah, 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 primetime speeches. How do you get it done when the radicals, they're not protesting in a small group 3 or 4 blocks away? They're part of the party.
And the problem is for Democrats now, Trump has survived all of this.
Yes.
And not only has he survived, but the public realizes now, the majority of the voting public, what's happening here. And we'll get to some of the poll numbers here that just blew a lot of people away yesterday. Again, you and I don't get too excited about bad polls or good polls. What we look for is where the momentum is going.
Where's the movement?
And the New York Times poll shows a tremendous amount of momentum. You know, you see Nevada, it's up by 13.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then I think if you add
on the RCP average, just on the RCP average alone, Nevada plus 6.2 for Trump. But yeah, the latest one was that. That's part of the New York Times Siena, plus 13 for Trump in Nevada.
I think if you include everybody, it's plus 14. Then I think.
Is it?
I think it is if you include. I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me here.
Yeah, RCP has it as plus 13. But yeah,
right.
That's
would be
massive.
That was head to head.
Mm-hmm.
Then they did I think they did the other one too. Mm-hmm. I'll find it here in a little bit. I just don't have it in front of me here.
Yeah.
Right now, but when you look at it, this is really going to go down in history. You're going to look at this and go, my God. And by the way, it was a likely voter poll too. And you and I started because we look, except for Rasmussen, everything has been a registered voter poll. Mm-hmm. And we said, well, let's see when all the likely voter polls come out, what it's looking like, because the likely voters are people that have voted and have a lot of incentive to vote this time.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of that. I mean, depending on what the definition of the pollster, you'd have to go inside to see what it is. But a likely voter is more likely to vote than a registered voter.
Yeah.
And so you start looking at those numbers, and it's, whoa. But we're actually looking, I think, this is something that is going to go down in American history as, because Trump, came back. He was president. Then it's going to show. He was president. Then Biden was president. Then if he wins, Trump is president. Well, how did this whole thing happen? How did he come back? How did somebody who was viewed as dead in the water come back? Historians are going to be analyzing this. I can't wait to see how liberals will try to analyze it even a year from now.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like, well, the voters are just stupid. 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 No, the Democratic Party on the issues and what they're doing with lawfare is pure insanity and unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And we know it.
Yep.
And that's the thing. The public has recognized it. The polls show the public has recognized it. We went through the latest numbers last week on that one. What is it, like 57 or 59-43, something like that? It was, huge. 57-43, 14-point difference. That these cases are political.
Right.
And that's a huge problem because every single day that goes on, you get more of the same. There is nothing, you look at the how the Fani Willis thing blew up in their face.
Well, that entire thing seems to be in pieces on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to figure out how to collect the pieces and put it back together, with Nathan Wade being out now and then the appeal being the appeals court saying, okay, yeah, we'll take another look at whether Fani Willis should be, part of this whole thing, and wherever that goes, I don't know how long that's going to take, but they said they're willing to hear the case, and so that's the next step there. Then you look at the documents case, and the judge there saying, oh my gosh, if she basically wrote that if you look at all the motions to dismiss, or all the different motions, I guess, the total of the 8 major motions, pretrial motions, she can't even rule on any of those, and there's 2 especially, because there's 2 that haven't been part of the public docket because of the nature of the documents. And then you get into the other 6, and she's saying, because there's going to be redactions and everything that would be necessary when it comes to discovery. It's what we said from the beginning. It's going to be a mess because who gets to see what? You're going to have to show, both sides are going to have to, every party, every person involved on both sides, prosecution and defense, is going to have to have access to have a fair trial on that, to all of those documents, and you can't possibly do that without massive redactions. And then if you have redactions, is that a fair trial? I mean, it could just sit there for years. Who knows where it's going to go on that one? The Alvin Bragg case right now is doing more for the Trump campaign than I would say the Alicia James case did for Trump. And I thought she did some pretty heavy lifting in favor of Trump, based on, and not just in favor of Trump, but in making a statement about New York no longer being business friendly if you take what she did and apply it across the board, quite possibly, and the risk of doing business in New York and how all that fell out. Well, the Alvin Bragg case right now is going nowhere. I'm telling you, it's a circus with you get a stripper up there, then you get a former lawyer who's been convicted of lying, and it really looks like a bad reality show. Cohen doesn't have to get a reality show. He's already in one.
Well, very quickly, this is what you see on CNN yesterday. This is very quick audio cut. You ready? Here we go.
All right.
But I've never seen a witness who's lied to Congress, who's lied in court, who's lied to the IRS, who's lied to the Southern District of New York, who lied to his banker. The entire prosecution witness team has been lied to by Michael Cohen.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
That's on CNN.
And Alvin Bragg is lying to the jury.
Yeah, because there's no crime.
There's no crime.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, yeah, yesterday you just saw, I think everything came together. You had, Trump's now bringing in, it's almost like a campaign event. Well, the Trump trial will continue tomorrow, and tomorrow it's going to be one of the considerations for vice president. Ramaswamy will be there.
Yeah.
That's how it's promoted, as if he's going to be there afterwards. Trump's going to come walking out. It's become a campaign event. It's completely gone posterior backwards for the Democrats. It's really incredible when you think. That's why I say it's so unusual. This is going to go down in American political history, especially if Trump wins.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it will. And this is, this is exactly what you're going to see. We've said for a while that history takes a lot of the drama and emotion out of it. It only assigns the drama that is warranted by the events themselves. So we'll look back on October 7th as a horrific day in history. We'll look back on certain things, but it won't attach the social media type drama that people attach to it today. And the more we get away from, everything else and experience Biden every single day, the less toxicity there is surrounding Donald Trump. And that's a fact.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Hey, I got part of just a little snippet of Jerry Seinfeld's speech, his commencement address to Duke.
All right.
All right. Here we go. All right.
And this is probably the biggest point I would like to make to you here today regarding humor. I'm going to try and reach across a couple generations here to tell you the most important thing I am confident that I know about life. I'm 70. I'm done. You are just starting. I only want to help you. The slightly uncomfortable feeling of awkward humor is okay. It's not something you need to fix. I totally admire the ambitions of your generation to create a more just and inclusive society. I think it is also wonderful that you care so much about not hurting other people's feelings. In the 1,000,001 ways, we all do that every second of every day. It's lovely to want to fix those things, but, all caps, but, what I need to tell you as a comedian, do not lose your sense of humor. You can have no idea at this point in your life how much you are going to need it to get through. Not enough of life makes sense for you to be able to survive it without humor. And I know all of you here are going to use all of your brains and muscle and soul to improve the world, and I know you're going to do a bang-up job. And when you're done, as I am now, I bet the world, because of you, will be a much better place. But it will still not make a whole hell of a lot of sense. It'll be a better, different, but still pretty insane mess. And it is worth the sacrifice of an occasional discomfort to have some laughs. Don't lose that. Even if it's at the cost of occasional hard feelings. It's okay. You gotta laugh. That is the one thing at the end of your life you will not wish you did less of. Humor is the most powerful, most survival, essential quality you will ever have or need to navigate through the human experience.
I saw on social media yesterday, Seinfeld promotes hurtful comments.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, my God.
What was I was looking at, I was watching, I don't think I've ever watched a full episode of it until the other day. It's the Netflix thing with Letterman. What did Zach Galifianakis call him? The crazy meth Santa Claus or something like that.
You mean what he's become?
Yeah, what he looks like today. It's this whole attempt at the hipster look and all of that. But it was John Mulaney, and I couldn't resist because I like John Mulaney, the comedian. I thought, all right, I got to watch it. And one of the comments was because they were at John Mulaney's high school and in Chicago, his old high school, and they went into a class and they were talking, and one of the students asked, well, how do you, write jokes, and also balance the whole idea, that you might get canceled for one of your jokes? How do you write your humor without worrying about being canceled? He goes, no, I write it. And then if I feel like it, I do it. And he goes, and, if you get some backlash, that's kind of negative feedback. That's the way I look at it. All right, you're going to get some negative feedback every once in a while. And he just compartmentalized it so well, I thought. And that's the idea, is that it has been a great overreaction. Because, again, you could sit, if you're going to do this and talk about offensive humor over the years, let's start it and end it with Blazing Saddles, right? Or All in the Family, or how many of these things where the absurdity is where the humor lives, the absurdity of the townspeople in Blazing Saddles, the absurdity of how Archie Bunker would sometimes think. The absurdity is where that humor is. And sometimes it's just a joke in bad taste, and it's, whether it's offensive or not, or the reason that it's offensive is kind of the side point. It's like, ugh, did you really think that was going to work? Did you think that was going to be funny? But the fact of the matter is that you look at now Dave Chappelle and everything he's gone through with LGBTQ and all the comedians that are out there. And Seinfeld said it years ago. Can't do college campuses, can't do shows on campuses now, because the protesters and everybody's going to, gets their feelings hurt. If you are, Letterman, by the way, back when Letterman was Letterman, said this: if you're worried about being offended by some of my jokes, get in line, because eventually everyone is going to get offended. Eventually I'm going to offend everyone. Back when Letterman was worried only about the humor and the laughs.
Right, not when he became political.
And that's the thing, too, is that, I was kind of thinking of that as I was watching this interview with Mulaney. And Mulaney is very pragmatic. He's been, I think he's hilarious. And his dad was one of Clinton's lawyers. He was a corporate lawyer and a little more conservative, by the way, and his law firm was hired to defend Clinton. And you look at these comedians today, and there are so many of them that are only worried about writing, because they want to make a statement and they want to appease the sensibilities of blah, 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 blah. And in fact, on an episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Brian Regan, Seinfeld and Regan covered that. And you talk about what
what your job is, what you're looking to do. Humor really is. I mean, it's a great way to disarm people, but more importantly, it's a very direct and quick way to give people instant joy. And when people start taking that joy, I say to myself, well, if you don't want to be a part of it, if you don't like it, you can get up and walk out. If it offends you for any reason, you don't have to be there.
You and I've often talked about it before, that when we'll receive criticism, you guys are laughing too much. This stuff is serious. You guys need to be a lot more serious. And, of course, people know that we can be serious on the issues and passionate about the issues. But as you and I both said before, no insane person on the left is going to take away my joy of life. Ever. Nobody's going to take away my sense of humor.
Ever.
And understanding that if you're going to communicate a message a lot of times of the absurdity of things that go on, and so many of the insane things right now that we're seeing are going on the left, you've got to do it in a humorous way. Yeah. If you're angry all the time, that's something that you learn. If you're angry all the time, you're not really that pleasant to listen to.
You're not. And life is very painful. We've talked about how there is plenty of drama in life without embellishing and without having to create drama where it doesn't exist. And as we get older, we deal with more and more painful things, not just physical pain, but dealing with loved ones and dealing with a number of things. And for me, I don't want to. There are plenty of sad and painful moments along the way. If I look away and set the humor down and decide that, I mean, of course, there's a place and time for everything. I learned that thanks to my pastor. But I always wanted to make people laugh. Mulaney talked about it in that episode. He said, Letterman asked him, when did you first know you wanted to do this? He goes, I was 10 and I did a bit with my mom about my dad doing phone sex. And it was so John Mulaney in the way that he was talking about his dad, because his dad is all business. His dad is a very serious guy and the whole thing. And he said his mom just spit her coffee across the room, and he knew right then and there that he could make people laugh, and it's the best feeling. When you can make people laugh, when they can make you laugh, when you can enjoy that moment, you absolutely should. Again, there's a place and time for everything. But there are very serious moments in life. There are very serious things that we need to address as a nation and fix as a nation. And we're at that crossroads, and I do believe that very seriously. But I'll be damned if I abandon humor.
What's funny is, as I mentioned, you had on social media after the clips from Seinfeld started coming out, and there's a number of clips out there. We played the humor clip that, hey, look, even if you're a little offended, understand what the joke is. Now, when you're in radio as long as we've been, you have a dark sense of humor anyway. Probably there's it used to be in the media. I don't know if there is anymore. Black humor that is just a part of dealing with what goes on. Probably a lot of first responders understand that. What they go through in their lives. So there's dark humor, but a lot of it's funny. But Seinfeld, when you said it, I saw the one headline that said. And then it was on Twitter, it was on X, Seinfeld defends, cruel comments or cruel jokes. And it's going back and forth, and someone said, yeah, that's right, Jerry he wants to offend. And someone said, well, I guess you're the liberal that he's talking about.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, oh, my gosh.
No,
and then, for example, yesterday, the mainstream media, I'll read some of the headlines in just a moment here, but I'm reading one. When Trump brought up at the speech the other day, Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Now, what he was talking about was criminally insane people being let go, being taken out of, insane institutions and criminally insane institutions and being sent to the United States.
Right.
That's what he was talking about.
Right.
And so he just went into Hannibal Lecter. He goes, now, Hannibal Lecter, and he was saying it completely sarcastic. Hannibal Lecter, now there's a wonderful man. I'm having a friend for dinner.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie? And everybody laughs,
Yeah.
I'm having a friend.
Exactly.
Well, what's funny with that? There's nothing funny with that. Well, yeah, having a friend for dinner, he's a cannibal. That's,
yeah.
And here it is, the banner on CNN. Trump praises Hannibal Lecter as a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the headlines from the liberal media, they're trying to sell it that was a serious statement.
Right.
Number one, he's fictional. I was telling you, I'm waiting for Trump to say something about the Joker. Mm-hmm. Trump defends the Joker on Batman and said that the Joker was actually funny. The Joker was a criminal. Doesn't he know that? There's nothing funny about the Joker. Or, maybe the Penguin. I don't know. What can he say about the Penguin? I advocate smoking as long as it's the Penguin. Trump advocates smoking. Says the Penguin was a good image. I mean, my God, how far are we going to go? I mean, it was pure insanity. If you saw what was going on from the media yesterday on that one, trying to legitimize, number one, he's a fictional character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
I can just see him going, oh, that John Wick knew how to take care of business. Trump promotes murder. He's saying John Wick.
He justified killing tons of people for a dog and a car. But that's the media.
Watch out, Kristi Noem.
Because they have nothing, and seriously, does that. Oh my gosh, who was it? Was it Jim Garrity or somebody who said about it was he retweeted a Kristi Noem article. This is last week or the week before, and he goes, seriously, Governor Noem, that dog's not going to hunt or do much of anything else now. Oh, my gosh. Oh, it was somebody over at National Review. I got to find it. But this is the...
Here it is. I'm not kidding you. I just went to the headline.
Yeah.
Analysis. Why Donald Trump ended up praising Hollywood's most famous cannibal.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah,
it's just,
they don't know where else to go. This tells you right here. This is further proof, at least, they have nothing on him anymore, and they understand his toxicity is gone.
Forbes, Trump calls fictional Hannibal Lecter a wonderful man at rare campaign stop during trial.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have any other way to demonize him. They really don't. And
TheHill.com, Trump, Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man.
Yeah.
National Post of Canada. Donald Trump calls Hannibal Lecter a wonderful man in campaign rally. Fact check Newsweek. Did Donald Trump praise Hannibal Lecter during a rally?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's the clickbait. It's,
I know.
It's everything. Make him look a little crazy if you can. But because they see the Alvin Bragg case, they see everything that's broken under the Biden administration as a broken by the Biden administration, and they have nowhere else to go.
By the way, that didn't stick.
What's that?
All the news headlines. It didn't stick.
Oh, from the Hannibal Lecter thing?
It didn't go anywhere.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's a horrible attempt.
In fact, the funny thing is, all conservative media picked up on the insanity of the left trying to make it a legitimate story. They jumped on and going, really?
You guys insane? And that's it. No, if we want to get into serious comments about cannibals, let's look over to the other side.
866-98-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, it's going to be an insane time. You just wonder where the media is going to go now. Look, we will get into the New York Times Siena poll here that was taken that just sent the media crazy yesterday. But you think about it, with inflation still hitting people every day, with the insanity of what was going on at the college campuses, the pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist movement out there, the reaction of the Biden administration to Israel and the trial going on, the momentum's only going one way. There is never a good day for Biden.
No, there isn't. And by the way, you know, the things, the protests at the campuses may move from the campuses during the summer. But in the fall, if those protests are still active, they're going to go right back to those campuses, and it's going to make headlines. And think about that. You get into August and September, and this is beyond the conventions now. And over the summer, where do these radical protesters go? Well, go back a couple of summers, and you know exactly where they go. Because if they don't have the campuses to take over, then they're going to start going to these liberal cities thinking that nobody's going to shut them down. So they're going to go there. We already know Chicago right now is on the agenda for them. It is on the agenda for these radicals to be there in Chicago during the convention for the Democrats. And the Democrats know it. That's why they're talking about partially virtual convention, a Zoom convention. And it's not going to turn around. And the Biden policy isn't going to change in the Middle East. He's not going to cut Iran off. He's not going to start sending more help to and weapons to Israel. He's not going to close the border. They're not going to do anything. They won't be able to do anything about inflation. The spending continues, so the inflation is going to continue. Tell me what changes between now and then. You and I look at the movement in the polls. What would change the movement in the other direction? The momentum is going for Trump right now. What between now and November changes that?
Autonomous individuals in unison. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Also coming out from Trump's speech. Here's a headline. Whoopi Goldberg says she's not going anywhere after Trump suggests she'll leave the country if he wins. The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg told Trump she was not going anywhere after he shared a social media post mocking her past remarks about fleeing the country if he won in 2016. So,
well,
she said
she's the one that started the whole thing.
That's true.
You know, she's reacting as if she didn't say that and he would be forcing her to leave. She's the one that started that years ago. And she's not the only one on the left. How dare him? How dare he say that I'm going to leave? You said it first.
She called Trump a snowflake then.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere, okay? And it's not for the reason you little snowflake. It's not for the reason you think.
Does she know what snowflake means?
Goldberg knocked Trump for saying nobody wants her, touting her contract to stay on as a co-host for The View, although she didn't specify the length.
All right.
I'm sorry. By the way, I'll say it again. The women are of The View perpetuate the stereotype that women are the incorrect stereotype that women are emotional idiots who never fact check anything. That is an incorrect stereotype, but they help perpetuate that incorrect and wrong stereotype because they, as human beings, not women, it is their brains that are completely devoid of any critical thinking skills, which is why they constantly have to be monitored by the legal department to check out to make sure they don't lie, which then has to be retracted in the next break that they have.
Yeah.
The next segment that they have, excuse me, not the next break.
Yeah.
During the break, they have to be like, you got to read this when you go on the air. It's happened before.
Yeah.
We've covered that.
We've been there.
Yes. On it. But yeah, so that's about all I have to say about her. But she has vowed now she will not leave the country if Trump wins this time.
A little reverse psychology. About it. I'm not leaving.
Well, then I'm not going to vote. Trump's lost my vote. If Whoopi isn't going to leave, I'm not going to vote for Trump.
What about Streisand?
I mean, has Babs said anything lately?
I don't
heard
know.
from Babs, have we?
I haven't seen anything.
We need to. I just put Babs in.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, she's been quite quiet.
Yeah.
What about anything from Green Day?
No. They're probably on an oldies cruise or something.
Nah.
The Beach Boys, Green Day, Frankie Valli.
Just Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods. The DeFranco family.
The DeFranco family. Does Green Day fit in? Yeah, do the math. Are you sure? By the way, with that lineup, I might get on that cruise ship without Green Day.
Well, no, but the only thing about Streisand is something about her and Melissa McCarthy and the Ozempic controversy and all that.
All right. Okay.
That's all. Nothing.
Oh, all right.
So apparently she's staying out of politics and talking about fat on women.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not lying. That's the discussion.
Yeah, no, it is.
That they're going back and forth.
Well, and now, that big controversy. It's like, okay. Everything is offensive.
Didn't you tell me the other day that Oprah was apologizing for something?
For being part of the diet fad craze. And she, in that conversation, by the way, when she was talking, she was speaking on behalf of Weight Watchers. And I thought, well, wait a minute. Huh? And when she was talking about it, she focused in on the whole liquid diet craze.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, not the alcohol liquid diet, the protein shakes, to be clear, the other liquid diet thing. And she said, it was bad because you would lose a bunch of weight, and then the moment you started eating, you would immediately, day one, start gaining weight again, and blah, 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 blah. I think people are smart enough to know. I think people are smart enough to know what works, what doesn't work, and that if you can't stay on protein shakes only, you can't. I look at the Ozempic thing. Or are you going to take Ozempic the rest of your life? How long do you take it before you quit? Jack Osborne was on a podcast talking about his mom, Sharon, saying, she was on one of the, I don't know if it was Ozempic or the other one, but, because she looks way too thin. And he was saying, I think she's lost a little too much weight. And the thing is that you come off of that, you're going to immediately go back to your old habits for most people. You know, even the stomach surgery thing has a high failure rate. You know, and so, look, you know, it's disingenuous. I mean, she's saying she's sorry, Oprah. All right, fine. But I think she's giving herself too much credit in that I think the world kind of knew. The fads happen with or without Oprah. Diet fads, phases, you know, whatever it's going to be. For guys, it's the carnivore diet, you know. All right, carnivore diet. And, of course, that comes with its share of really horrible side effects. And there's no, I haven't heard anyone that's really tried to make the point, you could do this and do this for the rest of your life, with the exception of cutting out sugar.
All right, but what I wonder is, what was Oprah talking? I haven't paid attention to the fat thing, and I need to know just for myself. Can I be fat? And will I be? Can I be fat?
Well,
is she apologizing for?
No,
what was she apologizing for?
It's become part of this whole thing of, you know,
fat shaming.
You know, yeah,
Okay.
It's part of the entire fat shaming thing. You know, we can't now be a part of. Celebrities shouldn't be a part of endorsing whatever the new fad is, whatever the latest fad is. Well,
I would say that for medical reasons, understand whatever fad is out there, how it could affect you. Like when you mentioned Kevin James earlier, didn't eat for 49 days. I don't know any doctor that would advise you to do that. Ever to do something like that.
Ever.
So for doing something like that, I would agree. But that my concern, and I think most people's concern, because we all have family members and friends that we know that are overweight, and it's like you want to help them, you don't mock them, you help them. If you mock them, if you make a joke about it, it's kidding because you're friends with them.
Yeah.
But the fat shaming, to sit there and say, look, you're overweight. You know, you need to. And I have women friends that are very close to me that I've told, you need to lose some weight. It's not healthy. A lot of them were younger when it was happening. They were in their 20s.
Yeah.
Said, you can't do this because you know what your health's going to be 20 years from now?
Right.
Most took the advice. It wasn't said to shame. It was said strictly, this is about your health. This is about, you having a quality of life now and 20 years from now and 30 years from now and 40 years from now.
Well, that's
totally legitimate.
Well, which is why you get back to something that you can actually sustain, where you're talking about the difference between a fad and then changing your routine and eating habits altogether. And it may sound repetitive and something we've heard for a long time, but it's a fact. You're not going to be able to stay on a liquid-only diet.
Right.
That's not sustainable. You're not going to be able to do starvation. You're not going to be able to do all of these things. Intermittent fasting I've been doing for well over 20 years. And it's not to lose weight. Sometimes it's, like Friday. I mean, it was almost 24 hours. And I drink so much water this time of year, especially.
I would never do what you're doing.
Yeah.
It would not be healthy for me.
Yeah. For me, it's great and it works. But the problem is that.
Works how? What's the definition of it works? That you keep your weight down, you feel healthier, you have more energy? What?
I definitely have more clarity during those times, during those phases. I don't do it 100% of the time. I don't do it. It's not nonstop. Some people will get up and say, okay, I'm going to start the intermittent fasting routine. For me, it's not a routine. It's probably at the most 2 to 3 days a week. And it's just kind of a reset. And on the days that I'm not hungry, I don't eat. And I know when I need to eat, and there are other days when I'm eating every 3 to 4 hours.
Well,
and so it works.
Yeah, I have that. I had a discussion with somebody about that the other day. I'll sit there at times, I'll go to sleep, and I'll wake up in the morning, and I'm not hungry. I'll have a couple of cups of coffee. I'm still not hungry. It's not a fast, and I'm thinking about it. It's just I'm not hungry yet. And about 12 or 1 o'clock, I'll get hungry, eat something light, then I eat dinner, and then I'm done for the day. But it's not like I don't think about it. It just happens.
For me, I know the days when it's like, okay, it's because I'm not hungry. I know when it's going to be a fasting day, and it's typically 8, 10, maybe even 12 hours. The other day, it was longer because I was traveling, but also I had no drop in energy whatsoever, and it works for me. There are too many people that decide they're going to use it as a tool. For me, it's about what my body chemistry is on that day. That's simple.
Yeah.
And like yesterday, I had one cookie. I hadn't had a cookie in a long time. And wow, in like 15 or 20 minutes, I was like, whoa, I felt that sugar. There are some days when I could eat 3, 4, 5 cookies, and it doesn't faze me at all. And so I have to pay attention to my body chemistry. And it's that simple.
One thing I have learned to do, eat a little bit and wait 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you find out, okay, I'm not hungry anymore.
Right.
It's amazing how if you don't wait that 15 minutes, you can eat a ton of stuff.
Right.
But the result 15, 20 minutes later, even if you
when your body starts processing it, yep.
You're not hungry.
Right.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
If you like listening to Red Eye On Demand, we have more of Eric Harley and guests for you. Download RER's Extra Mile podcast. More topics and issues discussed.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, we will get to some of the new polls out there, and really interesting, and sending shockwaves through the mainstream media yesterday. So we will get to that. Did you see can't play it because she said the F word. Did you see the vice president talking to an Asian group yesterday and talking about discrimination and talking about kick that, and she used the F word.
Yeah.
Kick that effing door down, and then she went into her laugh. It was bad.
Yeah, not good.
It was bad. Do you think they look at it and they say we need to be, if Trump is going to curse once in a while, then we need to start cursing more?
Maybe that's the play there.
I really thought about that. I said,
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
all across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Okay, Tuesday. Didn't know what day it was for a second. We have the latest polls that are out. Mm-hmm. And this was the New York Times Siena poll that sort of got a little bit of a gasp yesterday. It was like, on the swing states, of course. Mm. Now, you and I really aren't paying attention to the head-to-head because that's not realistic. I don't know why there's an insistence of the pollsters to do that, and why, for example, in Real Clear Politics, it's always the head-to-head that they put first.
Right.
If it's not going to be head-to-head.
Right.
You're going to have a Kennedy, you're going to have a West, and you're going to have a Stein, in there. So, to take a look at it, you look at Arizona. This is everybody in it. Trump 44, Biden 35. Kennedy 8, West 1, Stein 2. Trump plus 9. In Georgia, Trump 42, Biden 34, Kennedy 8, West 0, Stein 1, Trump up plus 8. Nevada, Trump 44, Biden 30. Wow. Kennedy 11, Stein 1, West zip, Trump up 14 in Nevada. Pennsylvania, Trump 41, Biden 37, Kennedy 9, Stein 1, West 1, Trump plus 4. Wisconsin, Trump 40, Biden 39, Kennedy 8, Stein 1, West 1, Trump up 1. The only state that Biden took, Michigan, Biden 42, Trump 39, Kennedy 7, Stein 1, West 1, Biden up by 3. There. And here's an interesting thing, because you and I have talked about, we've looked at other polls before and have said, could Trump instead of the opposite of what happened in 2020, where you had many senators that outperformed Trump, is it going to be the opposite now? Look at this. This is Arizona. Trump is up 9. It's Trump 44, Kennedy 35. All right?
Right.
And then, Trump 44, Biden 35, Kennedy 8, West 1, Stein 2, Trump plus 9. Kerry Lake is down by 3.
Yeah, there was an article about that over the weekend.
He's up by 9. She's down by 3.
Yeah, there was an article over the weekend that pointed to the fact that in Arizona he was doing well, but Kerry Lake is not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that one of those cases where you just have a bad candidate? They're just not performing for the GOP. Don't know. But you would think, given their relationship in the past, you would think he would help to carry her in the polls a little bit heavier. But he's not.
Well, you look at it in Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the Senate races in there. Democrats are up in 3 and a tie in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump right now is outpolling the Republicans.
Yeah.
In 1, 2, 3, in 4 of those states.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's close. Pennsylvania, for example, Casey up over McCormick, 46-44. Gallego and Lake, he hasn't reached 50 yet. And so really it's only in Wisconsin where the Democrat has a 7-point lead, where Trump has in Wisconsin a 1-point lead. But you're talking about a significant number of people right now saying they will vote for Trump, but not other Republican candidates. Now, when you look at it overall, and I was reading Jeffrey Blehar's comment or article in National Review saying, well, everybody says the election doesn't begin until after the conventions. Is that true? He said voters don't pay attention until after Labor Day. Is that true? Or is it an old adage? Maybe it is just an old adage. Does it apply in situations where the voters have already made up their minds long ago? Does it furthermore still apply in a technological and media ecosystem where politics are shoveled down American throats regardless of personal desires? And more specifically, does it apply to a 2024 campaign where there will be no debates, no face-to-face confrontations, and no predictable inflection points beyond the party's conventions. Right now, each team thinks it holds a potential trump card. The term, alas, cannot be avoided in the events yet to come. Democrats are counting on a conviction in Trump's hush money case sometime in the summer, harming his numbers enough marginally in the polls to squeak it out in the key states. Meanwhile, Republicans anticipate, oftentimes with, frankly, appalling glee, the August-December convention turning into Chicago's Greatest Hits, Volume 2. With any luck, both parties will be profoundly disappointed, but if both were to happen, or even only the Democrats' preferred scenario alone, there is now real cause to doubt whether the Democrats would truly gain from events. And he said, my interpretation of this, the polls portends doom for Joe Biden. As things currently stand, he is facing worse prospects than Donald Trump did in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. Again, 5 months of campaigning remain, so ask me again in October. But these numbers cannot be waved away and now point towards a Trump victory. The likely voter screen does not say Biden anymore, and in any event, the critical issue of what the likely voter model in 2024 looks like is still left addressed. The standard metric is voter participation in the previous two election cycles, but 2022 and 2020 were two of the most abnormal electoral cycles in living American memory. And that's the reason we said this is such a tough election to call. I would say that I don't think it's going to matter if Trump is convicted in the hush money case. I don't think that's going to move the needle. And if there are massive riots in Chicago, I just think that will add to America's perception that everything is wrong in the country and Biden is president.
Yeah,
it's not the be all end all, but it will add to that. And I think that if you look at what has happened over the last 2 weeks, I think partly it's Trump, partly it's the Trump trial, it's the what's going on in the campuses, and it's the administration seeming absolutely clueless about where they stand on Israel. Because that's how it comes to the end. I know where they stand. I believe they're anti-Israel, anti-Semites, pro-Hamas in this administration. I was looking, and the anonymous letter that was written to the White House, inside the White House, that was on January 3rd. And then you had in November the 500 people in the administration that came and they wanted to cease fire immediately. And in January, it was inside the White House they were calling for the ceasefire, the president to do the ceasefire. So this has been going on for a long time before you ever got to Rafah.
Right.
And so the American public looks at this and just goes, what in the hell is going on? But the major problem is for Joe Biden is inflation is not going to get any better between now and Election Day. It's only going to get worse. That's the problem that he has. That's the consistent that will remain. Maybe 5 months out, if people felt better in 3 months or 4 months, they might consider voting for Biden. If they aren't right now, I just don't see that happening before the election. We know it. I mean, there's not going to be really a rate cut. And even if there's one rate cut, that's really not going to make a difference in anybody's life.
I don't believe there's going to be a rate cut. I could be wrong about that by the end of the year, certainly not before the election. You're going to see core inflation numbers for April come out later this morning, and inflation numbers tomorrow morning for April. And, when you get into the median forecast right now, even the median forecast has these April numbers still at a healthy pace. It doesn't, in my opinion, look like anything that would send a message to the Fed to cut rates. and then getting into the Senate races, it's interesting where RCP and I was looking over the Senate races during the top of the hour and earlier, and RCP has the battlegrounds, and they get into it, and what's interesting is that they, in the Senate race, they have Texas as a toss-up. Cruz versus Allred.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that case. It was leaning red until recently. I guess we'll see.
And Trump is up, last I saw, 9 in Texas.
Right. And on the 2 likely voter polls since April 1st, Ted Cruz has a healthy lead in both of those, far outside the margin of error.
What is his lead?
His lead is 6-5 in one poll, and the margin of error is 2.5. That's a Texas Hispanic Policy Foundation poll, and another poll that was taken about the same time. Again, this is beginning of April for 3 days. Ted Cruz has a 9-point lead, and the margin of error on that one is 2.9. And those are both likely vote. Those are the only 2 likely voter polls that RCP has up right now on that race. And again, why that qualifies as a toss-up. Here's what they have. They have Arizona as a toss-up, and I guess you could say that. Sure. Maryland they have as a toss-up, but that's interesting too. When you look at Hogan versus Throne, and Hogan, the Republican here, has a RCP average spread of 3.8 over Throne, and the latest Hill Emerson poll, registered voters, that was taken earlier this month, May 6th, I think it was May 6th through the 8th, has Throne up by 11 registered voters. A likely voter poll last month, by the Baltimore Sun, has Hogan up 13.
Yeah.
And so, we'll, again, we look at the movement in it, and on these Senate races, it's hard to measure. But if you took that and let's say Maryland and Texas both go, now you've got, because right now, without the toss-ups, or including the toss-ups, the 8 toss-ups, 49 Republicans, 43 Democrats, and again, 8 toss-ups. If 2 of those toss-ups, Texas and Maryland, go to Republicans, you've got 51 for the Republicans.
Yeah, just so you know, the University of Texas poll that was done, it's the last poll for Cruz.
Right.
Now, that's a registered voter poll, but a huge number. I mean,
plus
12,
13, right?
Is plus 13, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to look at the likely voter polls. And, and University of Texas did one last year, too. That was plus 16, but that goes way back, December of last year. But that's, again, I don't see Ted Cruz losing to Allred. You and I are here in the state. We're not hearing any buzz on Allred whatsoever. And with Trump carrying the state right now in the polls pretty easily, I just don't see that happening. So
what I see, though, for Cruz, I've seen this on social media. Cruz is out there saying the race is too close, that the Democrats are targeting. You need to send money. So there is an intensity coming out of the Cruz campaign, at least to raise money, implying that the race is a lot closer than it is.
Kerry Lake's campaign did the same thing. These are web ads that are designed to get everybody excited. Hey, and look, it goes to the idea that you and I promoted, always campaign like you're 20 points behind. So if that's the way you're going to, try and raise money, okay, look, it's too close for comfort. We want to, and by the way, Ted Cruz, I would say that would be accurate. In Texas, he should have a much greater lead over Allred. But we'll see where it lands in November. But certainly that is a good tactic if you're trying to raise money.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I was just watching a clip from Brett Baer and Britt Hume, and they were breaking down the New York Times poll on the economy. Trump up 58 to 38. I mean, that's mind-boggling numbers when you think about it. Here's Britt Hume when he asked him when Brett Baer asked him what he thought. Okay.
Put that together with the states where Trump appears to be ahead, and remember, Mr. Trump does not need to win all those battleground states. If he holds the states he held in 2020. And wins a couple of those states, you can pick any number of them you could pick to be the two, he's president. And if the election were held today, I think this poll indicates he'd be elected. Now, obviously, we've got a long way to go. It's only May. But the issues favor him. Abortion favors the Democrats, but the economy and immigration and a number of other issues favor the president. And the people are upset about his performance generally. Age is not an issue they cite, but you know it's in there working against Mr. Biden. So I think that's where the matter stands now. It's not quite fair to say that it's Trump's race to lose, but it's getting there slowly.
Yeah. By the way, it's interesting that the New York Times Siena poll comes out just days after the New York Times editor says, hey, it's not our job to campaign for the Biden campaign.
That's a great point.
Did he see the preliminary numbers on that poll going, oh, my gosh, this is disastrous? Because when you look at it, and
I'm sorry,
Brett Hume, it's like we're out. You guys look away if you don't want to see this poll that's coming out in a few days. But if you hear what Brett Hume is saying, he's absolutely right. And those battleground states, there are at least 4 of them right now where Trump has a very healthy lead. If this trend is to continue, and again, tell us what reverses that trend, then it is going to be a victory for Trump in November.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This, Eric, actually came... Oh, by the way, hi, everybody. Download our app today and listen when and where you want.
Happy Tuesday.
It's really... We've been doing this so long where... not only a show, I mean, we have the commercial breaks, but you and I are talking and discussing things, and all of a sudden the music's on, and boom, we're back into it again. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it never ends.
Right.
And then you and I were both talking about the fact that as we have done this so many years, I mean, so many years, tomorrow is 24 years in Dallas for me.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But radio total 42, talk radio 35.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've done it so long where it's not like you do a show and then you go home and then you have to prepare a new show and you're like, this is a new show. One show just runs into another. It's almost as if, all right,
Well,
I'm taking a long what would it be, a 19-hour bathroom break.
Right.
Put on Free Bird and then we're coming back to continue the show.
Yeah, right.
It's just amazing how it goes.
Well, it's for me, it's one of those things where as you do more and more of the work, then you learn how to do the work more efficiently. And that's the case, I think, in any profession. And you and I were talking about that during the break of, that's kind of what it takes. And you have to stay on top of things. You have to know, all right, you and I are both, it's funny, you said it a week or two ago off the air. You were reading a story. It's like, I don't need that part. Like the explainer part of articles, where they go back and explain the entire history of the issue.
Yes.
This all began in November of 1917 when Henry Ford decided that he was going to, no. I need to know about the EV mandate. And they just get into that. And it's like, because the way that it works now and it worked this way back when we were having to get the paper version, periodicals and newspapers and everything else, but the more space they have on the page, then the more space they have for ads. So they put the digital ads, and I don't begrudge them for that. It's just you have to learn okay, this is the explainer part. Don't need that part. Let's go back. By the way, sometimes I need the explainer part of a news story, and they don't put it in there. It's like, well, no, you're not telling me when there was one story. I forget what, it was about a month ago. They didn't give the date of the event, of when it happened. I had to go outside of that news source to find out, and it was the death of a person, and they said, well, the medical examiner is trying to get to the cause of death and blah, 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 blah. It's like, when did this happen? And it's, so there's all of that you contend with, but you learn to kind of scan the page and then go back and then highlight in your mind all of those details, and then you save it and bookmark it and all of these things. But it just kind of rolls one day into the next. All the issues are a constant, basically.
I was dying laughing because I did do that, and it was normally it's when I'm on my phone and you're checking out a story that comes on social media, and something like a story like EV batteries still suck. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What information do they have? What and what I want to know is what has changed in it.
What's new?
What's the chemical makeup of it that makes it better? The new lithium batteries, why are they better? Why are you saying they're not improving that much? What's specifically going on? And the article starts, Ben Franklin, when he flew the kite, it's like, no. I'm screaming going, I don't care. Just get me the batteries are, and give me the story.
This is really what I just don't like about the Post, Washington Post, the New York Times, and occasionally it'll happen at the Wall Street Journal. Where they'll start on a cold wintry day. Janet sits in a diner all alone. She's waiting on a friend. She sees it. Remember the whole thing with what's his name the whole scandal of him apparently not wearing pants around his house. Charlie, what was his name? He had the long running interview show, and then he went to the CBS morning show.
Charlie Rose?
Charlie Rose. Remember that? And there was an article of Charlie Rose months after he was fired, being at this famous diner somewhere, and they wrote in it, Al Pacino had just left. Who cares? It was like, it's like they think they're writing a book. It's one thing if you're there are certain stories where you have to explain it. All right, this family went through this, and this is going on. There are things you do have to explain, but I find usually more than not those stories already have the drama built into them, where they say, this is, Diane is a 45-year-old nurse, and her daughter was in this hospital for this condition or whatever, and this happened or whatever, and they kind of have to tell you how this all began. I'll read those all day, and sometimes they're very lengthy, and they don't have very much to trim from a story like that. But far too often they think they're writing some kind of novel.
Oh, I know. It drives me crazy. But
yeah.
Talking about some of the polling numbers out there from the New York Times Siena poll, and how there was like this was actually written last Friday, and I think it was part of their podcast. I actually have the text of it, and it was Tom Bevan and Phil Wegman from Real Clear Politics. The Real Clear Politics average that you hear about. And Bevan said there was a piece earlier in the week that we ran on Real Clear Politics in the Bulwark, where they talked about Tony Fabrizio, who was one of Trump's pollsters. The title of the piece was "Tony Fabrizio Feels Good About Trump's Chances, and It's Kind of Weird." He sets the scene of Fabrizio giving a talk to about 300 donors down in Palm Beach, and was going through using the Real Clear Politics average of these different battleground states and talking about where Trump is. And he said that it sort of matched their internal polls that they've been conducting, and they feel like they're in pretty good shape. You just spoke to some of the folks affiliated with the Trump campaign as well. What did you hear from your sources? He goes, something very similar. The striking thing is for the most part, the numbers coming out of the Trump campaign internal polling really do match what we're seeing in the Real Clear Politics average. They're not just using these in presentations to donors. They're polling on states like Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and others also mirror what we're seeing publicly. Now, that was last Friday before this one came out. The big takeaway, what has these guys giddy, is that unlike 2016 and 2020, when Trump was behind in the popular vote, they now see Trump as leading Biden, and they believe that if they can keep that up, or they can avoid falling behind by more than 2 and 3 points, that they will be incredibly successful. They don't think they have this thing locked down, but they're very optimistic, and frankly, they have reason to be. Our advice to the Trump campaign, always think like you're down 20 points in the polls. I will say this, you and I said this probably in the last 10 days, we said we believe that Trump is much more disciplined on the campaign trail. Maybe it's because he only has a certain amount of time to come out because he's in court all day.
Right.
But those, when he walks in, especially when he walks out at the end of the day, especially the last 4 or 5 days, those have become press events.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Trump has not been buried at all by this. Now, when you look at, because that's the one thing that we've asked, what could change all of this? So you have to say, well, what has caused all of this in the last really 2 weeks, in the last month? Why is the momentum all moving Trump's way? What is it? Is it just inflation? Or is inflation the constant, and is all the insanity around inflation just adding to Trump's numbers? And inflation still is there, but when you see what's going on the college campuses today, and people pay attention to that. It's like, that's not high on people's list.
Right.
Yeah, but when you have inflation and it seems like everything is broken, the border's broken, and then you see these riots, and then you see the Democrats and the liberals not taking them seriously, I do believe that it has, an effect. How much effect? Because what you're hearing from the left now is, people aren't really paying attention to Trump's trial. I don't know if that's the case based on the polling. Because if people weren't really paying attention to it, you would not have, in the poll that came out 2 weeks ago, 57% of the people believing that these court cases are political and not legal, and only 43%. It would be much closer. It would be, 40. It would be 45, 10%. I don't know.
Right.
but you just don't have it. So I don't buy into it because you hear that mostly from Democrats. At CNN, they were doing it yesterday. Well, people really aren't. What we find out is people aren't really paying attention to the court cases. Well, then why do you have that 14-point disparity, and that's 2 weeks old, and it keeps getting bigger? I believe it can only get bigger as you see the debacle of the Bragg prosecution. So I do think people are paying attention, and it's not the only issue. I do go back to what Peggy Noonan said 6 months into the Biden presidency.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like everything is broken, that it wasn't that bad, and now everything is broken. Well, if that was the case in the middle or the end of 2021, well, my God, almost 3 years later, with inflation still pounding on everything, and everything just there seems to be nobody in control because people see Blinken. I can tell you right now, you probably could go to half of America, who is this guy, and they wouldn't know who he is.
Right.
John Kirby, they'd go, I don't know who the guy is. Karine Jean-Pierre, they might know because she's been around for a longer period of time. But Jake Sullivan, we play all these people. Do the average Americans actually know who they are? Does that make an impact? Or do they just say to themselves, how come we never hear from the president on this? And you really don't. How come the president doesn't actually take questions? Right. Why doesn't he take a follow-up? Why is he afraid to do it?
Why are we seeing him from afar? Why are we seeing him talk in front of a prompter? Why aren't we seeing him step up to a podium, taking more questions, and behaving like everyone else? We said, was it a couple of weeks ago when Trump brought the New York firefighters some pizza? You could see in that crowd of firefighters behind him, you could see almost a relief as they smiled. It was like, man. And we know that those are orchestrated events and they have, let's line up a bunch of friendlies and the whole thing. But the aesthetics is important. And he came off as the rock star in that moment. And he really still is in the rooms that he's in. And that may be, by the way, I don't know. I wonder if it's having any effect, I'll just put it that way, on the jury when they look at Stormy Daniels, when they look at Cohen, and they look at this whole thing. I know it's a New York jury, but I wonder if they look at this whole thing and go, my gosh, what is this?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's still giving Democrats a lot of hope, and I will say this, that after the Trump pulled in 80 to 100,000 people, I thought it was interesting that I saw more than I ever have before Republicans saying, look, rallies don't win elections. You got to get those people have to go to the polls. And there's a significant number of people that claim they won't vote for Trump. So you got to make sure that you've got a ground game. And that's the question. Does the Trump team have the ground game that they need? And are they fooling themselves by the polls and the rally size like you have and not worried about getting those people out on the ground, getting people to vote, having that ground game that you need in all of these swing states, because that's what drives it. And I've seen a number of Republicans, total, complete Trump supporters, asking that question. 866-90-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And then you say to yourself, well, what if the cross-examination is done today and then tomorrow, or whenever they have court again, if the defense comes in and says, okay, we want a direct verdict right now from the judge?
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting, and we'll talk more about that coming up. Plus, we'll tell you about the College Board that gets rid of the DEI programs and diverts the money to public safety and policing. Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.